Respectful discussion between Islam and Christianity.
Has the Bible been distorted? One distortion in talking about God, in a way that is not befitting of His majesty and greatness. Part 2.
Previously.
In my talk, I will focus on 4 main types of distortion. One distortion in talking about God, in a way that is not befitting of His majesty and greatness. Is there anything that might cause God to worry or fear?
No, of course that is impossible.
But if you read Genesis 11:6, you will see that God worried about the building of Tower of Babel. Read Genesis 11:6, and the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them." Read Genesis 11:6, and the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them." How does building a tower on earth, regardless of the height of this tower, make everything available to humans, and does not make anything impossible for them? So why would the Creator worry about building a tower? Does that logical about God? Then let us turn to another question. What is the meaning of confusion from your point of view? Can the prophets be confused?
In my opinion, confusion means hesitation between choosing a decision among several decisions, to choose the most appropriate one. As for the prophets, they are human beings, and human beings may be confused about some decisions.
Excellent. I completely agree with you that confusion is one of the qualities of human beings. So how do we say that God may be confused? Confusion comes from being careful not to make a mistake in choosing a decision between decisions, because a person does not know what will happen, and he does not know the unseen. But God knows the unseen, and He knows the best, so how can we say that He is confused between two things? Read Genesis 18:17. Then the Lord said, "Should I hide what I am about to do from Abraham?" Read Genesis 18:17. Then the Lord said, "Should I hide what I am about to do from Abraham?" God was confused. Really? So why did He come? Does He come to him and He does not know why He came to him? Do you believe that God takes His decisions in this way? How does God know the future and be confused? This is a very clear contradiction. A simple question: is it reasonable to believe that God came to Laban, Jacob's uncle, in a dream, and Laban used to worship idols? Then Laban obeys God's command for fear of him, and yet Laban remains on his disbelief in God. So he says to Jacob about God that He is the God of Jacob's fathers? Read in Genesis 31:29-30, 29. "I could do you great harm, but last night the God of your father said to me, 'Watch yourself. Don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' 30. Now you have gone off because you long for your father, but why have you stolen my gods?" Read in Genesis 31:29-30, 29. "I could do you great harm, but last night the God of your father said to me, 'Watch yourself. Don't say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' 30. Now you have gone off because you long for your father, but why have you stolen my gods?" What do you conclude from this? Is God only the God of the Israelites? Isn't Laban a human being like the rest of the human beings of the sons of Adam? Would God Himself come to him in a dream, telling about Himself that He is only the God of Israel and his fathers? Really? I'll ask you a special question, Pastor John. Suppose I meet you in a public place, and you have your wife and daughter with you, and then you utter obscenities in front of them. Would that be acceptable to you?
Absolutely not. This would never be acceptable. What does my family have to do with our debate?
A correct and instinctive answer. Any jealous man will not accept this, because this is contrary to the moral instinct that God created in our souls. But, my friend, by answering this, you acknowledge the distortion of the Bible.
What? What is this you'll say, Dr. Radwin?
To show you the scene I told you about a little while ago, Reverend John, I will say that I met you and your wife and your daughter, and I will say obscene words, but not on my own, but I will read them from the Bible, and I will only choose 4 different texts from the many texts that contain overtones shameless, and they are: 1. I will read from Ezekiel 16:7-8. 7. I made you thrive like plants of the field. You grew up and matured and became very beautiful. Your breasts were formed and your hair grew, but you were stark naked. 8. Then I passed by you and saw you, and you were indeed at the age for love. So I spread the edge of my garment over you and covered your nakedness. I pledged myself to you, entered into a covenant with you, and you became mine. This is the declaration of the Lord God. Ezekiel 16, 7-8. 7 I made you thrive like plants of the field. You grew up and matured and became very beautiful. Your breasts were formed and your hair grew, but you were stark naked. 8 Then I passed by you and saw you, and you were indeed at the age for love. So I spread the edge of my garment over you and covered your nakedness. I pledged myself to you, entered into a covenant with you, and you became mine. This is the declaration of the Lord God. 2 I will read from Ezekiel 23, 19-21. 19 Yet she multiplied her acts of promiscuity, remembering the days of her youth when she acted like a prostitute in the land of Egypt. 20 And lusted after their lovers, whose sexual members were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of stallions. 21 So you revisited the indecency of your youth, when the Egyptians caressed your nipples to enjoy your youthful breasts. Ezekiel 23, 19-21. 19 Yet she multiplied her acts of promiscuity, remembering the days of her youth when she acted like a prostitute in the land of Egypt. 20 And lusted after their lovers, whose sexual members were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of stallions. 21 So you revisited the indecency of your youth, when the Egyptians caressed your nipples to enjoy your youthful breasts. 3 I will read from the Song of Songs 7, 6-9 How beautiful you are and how pleasant, my love, with such delights. 7 Your stature is like a palm tree. Your breasts are clusters of fruit. 8 I said, I will climb the palm tree and take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like clusters of grapes, and the fragrance of your breath like apricots. 9 Your mouth is like fine wine. The Song of Solomon 7, 6-9 How beautiful you are and how pleasant, my love, with such delights. 7 Your stature is like a palm tree. Your breasts are clusters of fruit. 8 I said, I will climb the palm tree and take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like clusters of grapes, and the fragrance of your breath like apricots. 9 Your mouth is like fine wine. 4 I will read from Hosea 1, 2 When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to him, Go, marry a prostitute, and have children of prostitution, for the people of the land commit great prostitution by deserting the Lord. Hosea 1, 2 When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to him, Go, marry a prostitute, and have children of prostitution, for the people of the land commit great prostitution by deserting the Lord.
Is that really in the Bible?
Then I will ask a clear question in front of them. Is this really what God said? What would your answers be?
I will say, yes. Because the Lord already said it.
Well, if what you're saying is true, why don't we try this in action? Call them on the mobile and turn on the loudspeaker, and I will read in front of them, and at the end say yes as I said.
What? No. This cannot be tolerated. My family has nothing to do with the debate. I will have to withdraw from this debate immediately.
To be continued.